So the only thing that an immortal, perfect, divine, limitless, indirect fractal of God wants is experience, because it's immortal. It wants this experience, that experience, human experience, alien experience, 21st century experience, 38th century experience. And by the way, they're all happening right now. So it just wants experience, right? And through the experiences, it learns and evolves. And what it learns and evolves is about itself. So what does a limitless being want to experience? Limitation. What's that like? What's it like to be limited, to not be connected to everything all at once, which is our natural state? What's it like to be disconnected? That would be a fascinating experience. Death, there's no such thing as death, but what would it be like to actually think that you're going to die, that you don't exist after that? Again, it's an experience of limitation, because an immortal, limitless being does want to experience everything. And some of those things that it wants to experience, believe it or not, are what you and I call limitations.
From your point of view, what would be some questions that you would offer people to contemplate and help them arrive at a deeper understanding of who they are?
Yeah, Jason, I think the single most important question that we ever ask ourselves is literally, who am I? Just the act of this questioning will reveal more than people can possibly imagine, by simply doing the self-inquiry of asking yourself, who am I? And when we do ask ourselves that question, the mind literally goes blank. There's no answer. That's because the truth of the matter is, our temporary individualization is just that. It's very temporary. So in essence, there really isn't a separate who. And then when you question the mind about who am I, it literally doesn't have an answer. Because the truth of the matter is, it's all one thing. We are all creations within a creation, and this is just a temporary experience of individualization. And so the who, when you question the who, it disappears, because ultimately it's not authentic. The who we think we are and how we feel about ourselves is simply a temporary condition based upon experiencing individuation within a low frequency environment. So by asking yourself, who am I? The character disappears, the human character literally disappears like magic, and there's no one there. Now, what starts to happen when we do that, if we do it as I'm just rambling about it, who am I? Now, what will start to happen when people do this is that they'll actually start to just feel something right here in the center of the chest, a presence, a warmth, a beingness, if you will. And the mind is empty. Who am I? But you feel this right here. This is what you are. It's not a who. This is what you are. And what you are is a fractal of God. It is love. It is wisdom. And the subset of all those things are called our talents and abilities. And if you want to get in touch, to know yourself, to know who and what you are, the most profound question that will reveal the greatest illumination is the simplest question of all. Who am I? Now, metaphysically, what happens when we ask that question, and I know our physical senses can't perceive this, but our higher mind can perceive this. When we ask ourselves, who am I? What happens is the energy that was circulating in your head begins to drop down, and it returns to its source point within you. And so the mind goes blank and the emotions become completely stable, because all the energy is returning to its source point within you. And the energy source point is just beneath the belly button and above the groin. So hence you get complete mental clarity and total emotional stability through self-inquiry, to know yourself by simply asking yourself, who am I? Then what will remain is a presence, is a sensation, the beingness. Now this is what you really are, and what you really are sits right here between your heart and your spine. And this is why everyone indicates themselves. They don't point to their head and say me, they point to the center of their chest and say me. Because this is what you are. It sits right here. And it is not a who, it is a what. It is love, it is wisdom, it is forgiveness, it is compassion, and it is all the other talents and abilities that we display. This is where all morals and ethics and character comes from. It's you. You're born with it. It's what you are. There is no who. So that is the first question, and in a lot of ways, the most profound question we can ever ask ourselves in order to know ourselves is to ask ourselves, who am I? And you'll realize that you are beyond all roles, concepts, beliefs, and ideologies. If you added them all together, every concept, every belief, every ideology, if you added them all together, it wouldn't amount to one you.
Now, if we can tangibly imagine what it's like to have no name, no image, and no form, and let yourself feel that. Don't conceptualize it. Let yourself feel that. Now, when we sit like that, now this is the truth. We have no name, no image. This is a suit. All right, that's why it stays here. When we so-called die, no one dies. When we die, the suit stays here, and what we really are leaves, right? Because we're not this thing. It is a biological spacesuit that is attuned to and part of the local environment, so we can experience physical reality. Right? That's what it is. We're almost like a drone of our higher self, as a way to say it. Okay, so the more that we reside authentically as the truth, no name, no image, no form, the more of this will start to happen. It'll happen naturally, but you have to cease identifying with the suit itself. If you continue to identify with trying to perceive the greater reality through the suit, it can never happen. The suit is attuned to and part of the local environment. Therefore, the consciousness will never expand outside of the local environment if our attention is on the suit and its 5 physical senses. And the data that comes in through the 5 physical senses is just the intellect, which is about this much, literally, about this much of what we really are and the totality of existence itself. So the practice of no name, no image, no form, and almost as if this thing is starting to dematerialize. It's just electrons, protons, and neutrons, and they all just start to disperse. Now, the true self, the I am, the sentience, the consciousness, can start to perceive more and more and more because our attention is not upon the suit and therefore 5 physical senses. So that's really what from my perspective, that really is what must be transcended, is what I call body consciousness, which is identification with the suit and then trying to experience these unlimited and divine states of consciousness. The only way to experience the unlimited and the divine is to be in an unlimited and divine state of being, which means you cannot be identified with something, with anything. And particularly the physical vehicle. So that's one way to transcend it.
And I would say maybe the next question that we could ask in order to know thyself is, what is it that I'm trying to achieve? Once you ask yourself, who am I? And there's no answer. And you sit within thyself and you start to experience directly, body-mind, direct connection with the self, then maybe what you want to do at some point is, well, what is it that I am trying to achieve? What is it that I want to achieve? Now, it's important to ask that question second, because if you ask that question first, your programmed subconscious mind or your ego mind identity will give you an answer in terms of what you want to achieve. Oh, I want to make money. Oh, I want to have a family. Or I want to have a house. Or whatever. That's programming. That's all that is. So the first question to know yourself is ask yourself, who am I? Get used to being you again. Sit with that. And then when you're ready, ask yourself, what is it that I am trying to achieve? And let the answer come from here and let it imbue your mind. The answer should come from here, like a flower opening, and then it wafts up to your mental body. And then you'll be able to understand intellectually what it is that you're trying to achieve. But work that way, not from mind, first, right? Get rid of the mind. Who am I? Reside as the self. Then ask the self, what is it that I'm trying to achieve? And without realizing it, we will put ourselves right onto our life plan.
Now, before you reincarnate or come back in, you make a plan based upon what it is that you want to experience, learn, and evolve from. That is the life plan. You make what's called soul contracts. We've probably all heard these terms. Who, what family you're going to incarnate into, the possibilities of who would be your life partner, or perhaps children, people that you're going to work with, that you have this instant rapport with. And you're mapping all of this out before you get here. The key is to align yourself with that. So you're working in unison with yourself and therefore the universe. But to answer your question, absolutely. Life plan is, we all do it. You don't get to commandeer a physical vehicle without a worthy life plan. There's a long waiting list, or I promise, a long waiting list, a queue, if you will, to get a physical vehicle. And one of the things that you have to have is a worthy life plan. And when I say worthy, meaning that it has been mapped out that there can be substantial evolution of your consciousness and therefore other consciousness as well. It's really one consciousness. But if it's worthy, you get the blessing of getting a body. If it's not, you have to keep working on that to get something that is worthy for you to have even a physical vehicle. It's quite a hot commodity in the multiverse, I promise. So yes, we have a life plan. All of us do. And I'll let you know about mine for 1 second, just for 1 second. My last name is Spina, which means spine, right? And I became permanently paralyzed from the chest down. Oh, what a coincidence. I think not. This was planned. As when I used to say as a kid, if I ever get sick, I'll just heal myself. My last name means spine, right? So this is maybe more an obvious tapping into the life plan, but we all do this. You don't even get a body unless you have a worthy life plan.
How do I know if I'm on my life plan? How do I know if I'm following through? Ask yourself those two questions. That's how you do it. To know thyself, who am I? And to make sure that you're on your life plan. Once you are yourself again, what is it that I'm trying to achieve? And let that waft up. Don't reach for it. Don't even analyze it. Ask the question and let the perfume of the self emanate. And you will get a gigantic inhale of the essence of yourself. And then your mind will be able to know what it is that you're actually trying to achieve. And once the finite mind or rational mind or the intellect understands what it is it can do, we can then go from thought, emotion, action, and behavior, which is part of the subset of the order of creation. And then we can start to proceed to create and envision and manifest what it is that we're trying to achieve. Find out what it is that is driving you. What is it that you're actually trying to achieve? Is it human success, monetary success? Is it relationship? Pinpoint what it is that you're trying to achieve and make sure that it aligns with your heart. And if it doesn't align with your heart, then it's just the programming in terms of what's happened, the mental conditioning that happens from society. Figure out what it is that you're trying to achieve and make sure that it resonates deep within you. Because if we're not connected to something more important and deeper within ourselves, we will never, ever be able to handle the pressures of society. And that's why, I mean, if we start off with what is it that I'm trying to achieve, it'll just be your programming talking. Mm-hmm. And we don't even realize that. Hence subconscious, it's not in the conscious mind. All of a sudden, I want to make money. I want to have a house. I want to get married. I want to have kids. That's just programming. That's programming. Let's go to the real you. And what did the real you design? Life plan. What did it design to experience in this life? And those two questions, they might be the two most important questions we ever ask ourselves. You might not need to ask yourself any other questions. Ever.
More evolved souls are drawn to these type of teachings, and more evolved souls always give themselves challenges, obstacles, circumstances that are worthy of their level of evolution, of their level of sentience, of actually what they're capable of. So yes, the ego mind doesn't like to hear any of these things. That's for sure. The ego mind wants to sit on the couch, binge on Netflix, and have the cake life, right? Well, there's no evolution in that. So the more evolved souls absolutely choose, from a human perspective, horrendous situations, incredible challenges, ridiculous kind of things where it's like, why would anyone do that? Just for what I said, you're going to leave here with a stronger back and a more tender heart. And that, from a human perspective, if we relate that now to metaphysics, what we're really talking about is the deepening of the eternal reservoir of our love and wisdom. Now, as our love and wisdom accrues, sentience and energy is always in a 1-to-1 ratio. So as we become more loving and more wise, we actually become more powerful. So just like a pound of sugar and a pound of butter, sentience and energy is always in a 1-to-1 ratio. So we sign up for these crazy challenges. I signed up to have my body completely destroyed. I also signed up for a whole bunch of personal things that I've never really talked about. And I probably never will, or maybe once I'm going to leave the incarnation, maybe I will. But we give ourselves these crazy challenges, these impossible tasks, right? To prove that it's not impossible. So we can actually accrue the sentience, the love, the wisdom. And with that, we gain energetic power. So from a human perspective, it doesn't make sense, but human perspective is incredibly limited and doesn't really understand what even gives birth to the human experience. So what we're really talking about is what gives birth to beginnings and endings. So we want the biggest challenge. The more evolved that we are, the more that we're capable of, and therefore the bigger challenge that we give ourselves. And whether that's personal, family, physical, all the above, it doesn't really matter. Economic, social, it doesn't matter. We give ourselves the challenges so we can see ourselves in the act of overcoming it. And this deepens our eternal reservoir and love and wisdom, which eventually makes us more powerful because of the more energy that we're able to command. And thus we leave this incarnation with a stronger back and a more tender heart. And you carry that with you forever because that's really what you are. And that makes the soul, the sentience, the consciousness more pliable and more easily adaptable to any circumstance that it will ever encounter, whether what we call this a future life or things of that nature. These things are you. And because you have tested yourself in the low frequencies of the physical universe with these immense challenges and you have met them head on and risen above them, it makes you more pliable and adaptable to any challenge that you will ever encounter for your entire existence.
It's all mapped out. It's a movie script. It's already been written. You wrote it, right? Just get back on cue. Get the script back in your hand, right? Because everyone's waiting for you. This whole thing is a movie set for you. Step back out on stage and know your lines. And then each scene can happen. And then the next scene happens. And then the next scene happens. And it flows. All of a sudden, oh, wow, that was an interesting movie. And we'll call that a life.
But the important thing to remember about that is that you're the awareness of everything that's going on. It's a movie, but it's your movie. It's a movie that you wrote, that you produced, that you directed, that you're starring in. You've just forgotten the lines. You've just forgotten that you wrote the script to your own movie. And you're seeing all the characters in your movie. Now, the more that you could detach and not identify with what's happening, the more of what I'm saying is going to become tangible for you. You're going to realize that all these things were placed here by you. Who else could have placed them here? What's the one thing? What is the one constant in terms of your life? Every experience that you've had has come and gone. Every thought that you've had has come and gone. Every emotion that you've had has come and gone, right? Every lunch, every dinner, everything has come and gone. What's the one thing that remains? You. That's the I am. That's the immortal you that creates the whole thing. That's your proof. The one thing that remains is this awareness of everything. It's the awareness and woven into the fabric of the awareness of the screen of consciousness is what you really are, your love and wisdom and power. And that is what has created this movie. But don't ever lose sight of the one thing that always remains. Forget about what comes and goes, because everything is what comes and goes. What remains? You. That's the creator of all this, the creator awareness of all of this. And it's a dream state. Every frequency, every dimension, every so-called reality, parallel condition, it's all a dream state. So what is really the key? To wake up to this. To wake up to the fact that it's a dream. And in a dream, when you have control over yourself, you can do anything. So your proof is that you are the one thing that remains as everything comes and goes. You are the author. You are the director. You are the producer. You are the star. Remember the movie. Remember the script. Remember. And that'll come to you through just what Peter was talking about, what you're talking about, Peter, self-inquiry meditation. It will come back to you. But you have to sit in it and let it waft up. Don't reach. Let it waft up to you, and you will realize tangibly that you are the creator of everything that you ever experience.
The people you're supposed to meet and the experiences you're supposed to have, you're on the wrong track. You're supposed to be going to California. You're headed to Idaho. What are you doing? Everyone's waiting for you on this path over here on this train. You got on the wrong train. Going the wrong way. It's all going to blow up because you're not supposed to go that way. Oh, why is my life falling apart? Why do my relationships suck? Why can't I make any money? You're not supposed to be doing that stuff. That's why. That's why. And your guides and helpers are the ones that are blowing it up, by the way. And because they got your life plan.
What people call their guardian angels, okay? They're really guides and helpers. Angels are something completely different. Angels help maintain the maintenance of the environment or the multiverse. They help maintain it. Angels are not sitting on your shoulder and guiding you. Those are your guides and helpers, and we all have them. And on average, we have between 12 and 15. Every incarnate aspect or soul normally has about 12 to 15. It can differ, but they're real. They're with you. They're often they're with you 24/7. They're often with you over from a linear perspective. They're with you for sort of long periods of time because they are helping you because they may be an expert in a certain field. Now, most of them have not incarnated for the most part, but they may be experts in certain fields. Like people have a guide or a helper for their career, for their relationships, for travel, for health. Maybe they have a very specific goal within this incarnation and they're going to be working with, I don't know, mathematics. They'll have a guide and helper that's helping them uncover and reach these conclusions in mathematics. So guides and helpers are with us 24/7, literally. And they're often with us for multiple incarnations. Angels don't operate that way. They have a completely different role or function. And that is to make sure that the reality looks the way that it looks, that things seem to flow without major hiccups in the matrix. They help simply maintain the functionality and the structure of the multiverse itself.
So they blow it up. And it's your guides and helpers that turn your body off when it's time to get out of here, when it's time to slide out. They're the ones that turn it off. It's this, how things are here is the opposite of how things really are.
What happens when our physical body dies?
Okay. There is no death. Very important to understand. There is no death. It's just a change in scenery, change in frequency, change in dimension. There is no death. There is no such thing. The only death we actually experience is when we're disconnected from our true self. That's the only real death. So once the incarnation is over, we no longer need this because the body is attuned to and part of the local environment. Once you've completed your life plan, you no longer need it, which is why the body stays here. So what you really are, your sentience that has commanded and been given energy, like we were talking about before, simply just leaves the body and then will go to where it needs to go to sort of recuperate, understand that that incarnation is now over. It starts to reacclimate itself to its normal environment, believe it or not. So there's no such, I mean, there's so much to talk about in regards to that to try to sum that up. But the most important thing to understand is that there is no such thing as death. No such thing as death. As we said earlier, physical death is astral rebirth. Astral death is physical rebirth. From my perspective, the key is to transcend both of those limitations by letting go of the identity to both of those temporary forms. That's real self-mastery. And then you kind of come and go as you please at that point. But there's no such thing as death. And if we started to meditate, from my perspective, properly, and we're able to literally leave our body, first off, you're going to feel like $1,000,000, I promise. Absolutely promise. You won't have this thing, this garment that we're wearing that's all low frequency. It's like getting rid of some clothing that just you've outgrown. It's just time to get rid of that clothing. You're going to feel much better. I promise. I've been doing this since I was a kid, leaving my body, leaving my body, leaving my body. Totally normal. And not just me, it's just totally normal. There is no death. It's a change in scenery. It's a change in consciousness. It's a change in self-understanding. It's a change in what it is that you're able to experience just through intention. It's liberation. The key is to experience that level of liberation while you're still temporarily merged with the physical vehicle, to feel that liberated and that free and that light even while you're here. But there's absolutely nothing to fear. That's the unawakened mind. All we want to do, from my perspective, is we want to know the difference between the I am and the egoic I, and not let the egoic I run roughshod over our entire life, because all suffering starts to come from the identification with this and with that, with this belief, with that belief. When we can start to work with ourselves, what I call properly, right, then life literally becomes a joy. You start to realize that it's playtime, that it's literally playtime. Every frequency, every realm, every dimension, I got news for you, it's all playtime. It's all playtime. And when you experience the self directly and that joy and that freedom and that sovereignty and that love, you realize, yeah, the whole thing is actually playtime. And when we start to experience the I am directly, this world will change overnight because of the joy that we'll be experiencing for ourselves, and that will be what it is that we share. So anytime there's an opportunity for evolution, it's going to take place. So what that means is when we have a choice, right? Should I take this job or should I take that job? Or whatever. You can pick any kind of scenario that you like. Should I move to New York or should I move to California or whatever? So whenever there's a choice, that means there's energy behind both of those possibilities. Now, just like the radio, we can only experience one of those choices or one song, right? But yet, because there's energy behind that other choice, it actually comes to fruition. And that actually gets manifested or created. So there's a Louisa that lives over here and married this guy and married this person and did this and did that. Now we can only experience just one version of Louisa, but every time there's a choice, a parallel condition is created because there's the opportunity for evolution within every one of those. It just so happens that our human mind or brain at this point within the low frequencies in this timeline, we can't experience the multitudinous, the concurrent and parallel versions of creativity that are happening simultaneously. Just like all those radios or all those songs are playing right now, how many can you listen to? One. But because everything is conscious, it's all God, it's evolving and learning. So every time you make a choice and you think that you went to California, and you did, there's a version of you that also went to New York and to any other place that you were thinking about. And so one incarnation, one single incarnation is such a gift, because upon a life review, we then review all of those things. We think that we just moved to California and, got married and had 2 kids and, died at 65 or, whatever it is, right? No, that's one version of you, just one incarnation. You're going to have millions of versions of you. And you're going to be able to review all that, and you are going to be the wisdom and the love that is retained from all of those experiences. The key is to bring that level of supreme intelligence into your life now by mastering being present and shutting down the egoic mind. Now, when you master being present, all that wisdom from all these different experiences that are happening right now becomes available to you. And it is fostered into you on the river of intuition, which is how you taste your own wisdom. But that only happens by being present. So by being present and mastering being present, we allow the supreme intelligence to enter into our life. That supreme intelligence is what we are. That's part of why it's so important to transcend the logic and linear subconscious patterned egoic mind. I know that was very long, but that's part of why we want to do that, because we will be guided in a way that we can't even fathom at this moment. So, but to be present and to do it rather quickly, like pretend you just arrived here, no past, no future, and now stay that way. And as soon as you find yourself coming out, do it again. Bring yourself right to now. Pretty soon, because these little, I call them magic tricks,
Because these little magic tricks are so easy and that they work in seconds, pretty soon you can just be this way all the time, because you don't have to, oh, I got to go meditate. Let me go set up my room. Let me get my crystals. Let me get my incense. Don't bother me. You can just do this all day, all the time. And this is the key. It's for everybody, because this is the true state that this is what we really are. So it's easy. It's easy. We don't need to set anything up, but everyone should at least start with a mindfulness practice for sure. And if they want to call it meditation, they can. Just learn how to control your energy to be present. And that's really that's what meditation is. The self is meditation. Someone asked me the other day, RJ, what are the most important things to work on? Number one is detachment. Detachment is number one, because nothing happens that is quote unquote good until you detach from what's here, including your own mind body. Detachment gives you your energy back, and it allows you to actually experience yourself directly. You're no longer attached to thoughts, emotions, bodily sensations, beliefs, ideologies. So detachment is from my perspective, detachment is the single most important thing for everyone to work on, because that's the starting line. You have to become detached, number one. And number two, the will. The will. We use our will for everything. Our energy is our will. I mean, that's what we harness, right? To move our body, to think, to emote, to do anything, right? We use energy. Our energy is our will. So for whatever it's worth, detachment and learning how to harness your will, I think that will yield the greatest results for humanity. To understand how to become detached so you can actually be yourself, and how to harness your body of energy properly so you can achieve, what is it that I'm trying to achieve? So you can achieve what it is that you set out to do in this lifetime, and every lifetime, whatever it is. Returning to yourself and then understanding what your life plan is by asking yourself, what is it that I'm trying to achieve? And then harnessing your will to do it. That's it.
Most of us don't realize it, but most of us are just consumers, not creators. Okay? We shop for concepts. We shop for beliefs. We shop for ideologies, not just, dishwasher soap and, et cetera, right? Perpetually shopping, a consumer. Okay, that's the opposite of being an immortal creator. That's the opposite. Okay, so the first thing that we have to realize is to stop shop. You're already everything. The I am, the self, is whole and complete as it is. It's an indirect fractal of God, and I say indirect because we're a projection of our higher self. We don't lack anything. None of us do. It's like a circle. We're whole and complete as we are. So it's residing as, within, and for that, and then expressing that directly. That's it. So that's the difference. We first have to understand about consumerism is not just buying, dishwasher soap. It's also beliefs, concepts, ideologies, so-called information, right? All this kind of stuff. Stop. There's no way to create consciously if what you're creating is already based upon something you've identified yourself with, which is already false, because we have no name, no image, no form. So if you've identified yourself with something, we're already taking the wrong path. So we stop with consumerism completely, and we learn how to be present and reside directly as the I am, and then we create from there. Now, when we do that, there's no limitations, right? Because this is an indirect fractal of God. It's not conditioned. It's not limited. Right? This is part of how I put my destroyed, permanently paralyzed body back together again, right? Is to tap into this infinite I am, the indirect fractal of God, and reunite yourself with your higher mind. And you can do anything when you do that. You can create anything. You can literally put a destroyed body back together, as I have done and done before. So this is the difference between consumerism and actually creating. We have to stop identifying with beliefs, concepts, roles, ideologies, and so-called information. Let all of that go and reside and marry ourselves to the present moment. Now, to create from there, there's no limitations, but only when you create directly from that are there no limitations. And that's how we tangibly taste being what an immortal creator is. at the highest levels, and I really mean at the highest levels, we're not going to just jump to this. This takes dedication over eons of time, purification over eons of time, the evolution of our consciousness over eons of time. But I can tell you for a fact that at a certain point, there is no choice. There is no wants. You are impelled and compelled by the will of God. You actually have no choice in what you're doing. There is no I want. It's totally gone. It's not even a question of, oh, I wonder what do I want today? That is history, and it never returns. So at the highest levels, you are literally compelled and impelled by God. And I have often said, I've said it in interviews, I say it in my classes, I can't stop being whatever it is that I am, however you want to label me, I don't really care, a teacher or this or that, but I don't care. I can't stop doing it because it's not even me. So I have just learned how to get out of the way and let this come right through. It's the only talent I actually have, is that I have learned how to get out of the way. And I have learned how to get out of the way. And what comes through, I am impelled and compelled to do what it is that I do. So at that point, wants, needs don't exist. Wants, needs, desires, this, that, it's gone. It's just gone. That's right, because at your core, the I am, you are God, the indirect fractal of God. And we keep imagining worst case scenarios for ourselves. Try imagining that everything works out great. If you fear death, try imagining that everything works out great. Try doing that with your life. Instead of imagining worst case scenarios and torturing yourself with your own imagination, imagine if everything works out.
Yeah.
Right? Just say to yourself, how could this get any better? Let the universe show you.
Is there anything I haven't asked you, RJ, that you would like on a final note to share with the Passion Harvest audience?
Oh, but there is a lot of, the experience of suffering is quite universal. And in fact, it's really the lower frequencies of the physical universe is really the only place that you can have that experience. But what I want everyone to know, not believe, know that what you really are is untouched by what happens to your body-mind. Okay, the body-mind, the suit, right, is part of and attuned to the local environment. You are not the body-mind. You are what's inside of it temporarily immersed within this biological spacesuit so you can experience physical reality. So no matter what is going on with the body-mind, you are untouched forever, just like the sun. The sun is untouched by the weather. I don't care how much rain, how much snow, tornado, hurricane. I don't care for how long, hundreds of years. None of that weather touches the sun. And nothing here touches you. Ever. It cannot. It affects the body-mind, absolutely. I was paralyzed. It affects the body-mind, but it doesn't touch you. So know at your core that you are totally fine. Completely unscathed, unharmed, no matter what goes on here. And the key is to have that kind of dominion, that knowingness, that dominion over your body mind. And then no matter what is going on here, you don't even have the suffering of the body mind. You've transcended that through your own self-realization. This is a temporary physical experience within the lower frequencies of the physical universe. And I think we should keep it temporary. I absolutely do. I think we should keep it temporary. I think instead of being afraid to die, I think we need to learn how to live fully. Yeah. And when we start to live fully, we won't care about when the incarnation ends. What difference does it make? What difference does it make? No one actually dies. I talk to dead people all the time, right? So no one dies. Let's live fully and not concern ourselves with physical death. Physical death is astral rebirth. Astral death is physical rebirth. It's just this cyclical cycle. True self-mastery is transcending both of those things and simply showing up whenever you like to. That's what self-mastery actually is. When you transcend both of that cyclical nature and you show up when you're needed, and then you leave when your work is done. Okay. That's what I'm talking about. Okay. That's what I'm talking about. So, but healing, anyone who has mental, emotional, or physical, or all the above has issues, the remedy is here, my friends. It's the first book I wrote. It's called Supercharged Self-Healing. Avail yourself of that now. I don't know what anyone is waiting for. And by the way, it's already in its second printing. It's a huge success. Okay. Moving past the desire to even be here forever, which is a totally egoic endeavor. A totally egoic endeavor. And once we start to understand what I'm talking about, you won't want to be here forever. You will want to learn how to live fully. And once you've learned how to do that, you're like, okay, I've done everything I want to do here. What's next? I'm ready. And then we move on to a totally different experiences that are nothing like this, that are absolutely nothing like this, that the human mind has no frame of reference for, right? And the aging, slowing down aging, from my perspective, is not, well, I'll say it that way. It's not even difficult. It's not even difficult. You don't use this. Okay, you use this. You use this. You attune this and this to this. You don't even have to think about aging because it doesn't really happen.
Right.
It doesn't really happen. So, and the first book outlines all of what we're talking about, that last question. The first book talks about this. It talks about immortality. It talks about these things. And when we work with the higher mind, full communion with the higher self and the higher mind, nothing is impossible. I mean, nothing. But the human mind is filled with limitations because it processes things through logic and linearity. But that's not how things actually are. And that's not what we really are. Healing, stopping aging, and we're already immortal is all on the table for the fully self-realized being. Well, the most important, I just want you to know that I love you, all of you. And I want all of you to love yourself as much as I love you. That's number one. And actually, that's number one, number two, number three, number 50, number 100. Everything else, who cares, really? I want you to experience that for yourself, to love yourself that unconditionally. Okay? You can search the entire multiverse. I have. You can search the entire multiverse for all eternity, and you'll never find someone more deserving of your love than you. Ever. And I will also say, jump in. Stop sitting on the sidelines and giving yourself your get out of jail free card. I don't have the time. I can't afford it. You've been waiting for this forever. I am here now. I am incarnate now. The teachings are here now. You are here now as well. Do it. What are you waiting for? Who is the one who's even waiting? Right? Okay. So I want you to feel love. I want you to feel love. The summation of all wisdom, all this crazy stuff I thought, right? The summation of all wisdom is unconditional love. Right? And this is what I want to share. This is what I do share with you. This is what I want to share with you on a whole nother level when you take a class or a course or go to the retreat, or right? Don't sit on the sidelines. Do not invest in yourself. You have to send that signal. And it's not just the money about investing in yourself. The tangible and the intangible. Once we start to understand this is when the magic actually happens. It's when we invest in ourselves. The universe says, oh, you're investing in yourself? Let me show you what that's like by an order of magnitude. That's how it actually works. When we sit back in the silence, oh, I can't afford that. Oh, I can't really do it. Oh, I don't really have the time. Oh, I'm not really sure it'll work. The universe will then show you exactly what it's like to be on the outside. This is your time. We all plan this. I can just remember planning it. It's the only difference. I can remember planning this. Right? Okay. Many of us probably can't. When you lose your mind, you might be able to remember planning it. We all planned this. All of us. We planned this. And if you're watching this, you think it's a coincidence? Do you? Are you kidding? None of us work with coincidences. This is meticulously worked out to the greatest detail to make sure that we didn't miss one another. So don't miss one another and avail yourself of these unbelievable people that take these courses too, by the way. Someone was mentioning that to me the other day. It was about RJ and his teachings. But the people that take these courses are unbelievable. These are the most evolved, the most sentient, the most humble souls that you're going to meet. They're all working this exact same direction. It is an oasis of higher consciousness. These are people made friends with each other. They'll be friends for life by taking these courses. It's that transformative. It's that deep. It's that personal. It's that intricate in terms of who and what we really are and our connection to one another. Go for it. Don't convince yourself. Don't let the little you conquer the big you, as Plato used to say. And what that means is, don't let the ego mind identity transcend the I am. Let the real you take over the incarnation. Do it. Do it. The investing in yourself is the only worthwhile an investment, because it's the only investment that pays limitless dividends now in every facet of your life and in every single incarnation. This is it. Working with yourself in this way. All of you avail yourself. It's time. It's your time. It's your time. Grab it. Seize it. Make it your own. This is it. This is it. And I can't wait to connect with all of you. And hopefully I connect with all of you in this course and another course and another course. And we'll keep doing this. And by the way, we all keep working with each other over and over and over again, over and over and over again. I look like this in this life, and you look like that in this life. This is deja vu. This is our first time working with each other 1,000 times before, if that makes sense. So follow your intuition, follow your highest excitement, follow your passion, and don't use your get out of jail free card to convince yourself of some reason why not to do it. I can't wait to see you all. I love you all. And I want you to feel that love. And I want you to avail yourself of the teachings that will allow yourself to feel that love and that immeasurable I am and all your infinite potential, and have it manifest right here and right now. So, but what I will share is that the goal is love. Now, I say that because love dismantles and destroys everything other than itself. Okay. What God wants is to feel that same emanation of love from its creations. That the same emanation of love that God poured into us when God created us. To feel that same emanation of love back from its creations. It truly, authentically, intrinsically is about love. Not in some ridiculous shave your head, hang out on an airport and hand out religious pamphlets. So I'm not talking about that kind of kumbaya love. I'm not talking about that at all. I'm talking about the tangible vibration of love. There is no decrepitude. There is no demise. There is no sickness. There is no hatred. There is no separation. There is no others. Because love is unconditional. That is the key to everything, because that is the very wellspring of being and non-being. And it's love. Now, the key is to stay as close as you can to that wellspring of the I am, of that being and non-being, of no name, no image, no form. The key is to stay that way, to reside that way, to be that way, to live that way, to create that way, to love that way, to forgive that way. That is the key. That is the goal. And when we do that, the evolution of consciousness is working in its greatest way, because we're experiencing the very core, the 0 point, the source point of what we all are. And from there, anything becomes possible, like putting your destroyed body back together, like never aging, like creating whatever it is that you desire to be the awareness of. It doesn't matter what it is. And it doesn't matter if you're doing it in the lower frequencies of the physical universe or even higher frequencies. Once you're working with seated directly at the miracle machine, you can create anything. The ego mind identity is so far downstream at the edge of miracles, there's very little it can do. But the I am, the true self, can do anything, because that is the source point, the wellspring of being and non-being, which is love. And that is really the goal of everything, is to deepen our reservoir, our eternal reservoir of love and wisdom, whose subsets are our talents and abilities. That is actually the point of everything. That is actually the evolution of consciousness. And that is actually the highest purpose of existence itself.